for the City of Henderson Commission on Thursday, June 30th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Rodney Thomas.
Here.
Should be on
Thomas.
Zoom.
Sorry,
He's on Zoom.
there he is.
Yeah,
I
there
see.
he is.
Okay. Commissioner Vowles,
Here.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Here.
Commissioner Staton,
Here.
Mayor Austin.
Here. We have, one item on our agenda, and that's the municipal order approving the award of bid to JBI Construction for the 425 turn lanes to Pratt Paper Project. Buzzy, I'll let you.
I will give you the background, and I will ask for a motion in a second. And then I will ask Randall to give his, we have a little cleanup on the contract.
Okay.
I would also, during my discussion, Missy, is you to get up and participate what happened between yesterday and today. So the background, let's go back to day one. Part of our agreement to get Pratt Paper here, we got involved with this particular project, but as part of the state incentive to get Pratt here, KYTC provided a $500,000 grant to assist toward the turn lane projects into Pratt along Highway 425. Now, that occurred last April, May, Missy?
Yeah, it was all approved, obviously, on July 29th, but we were in those negotiations. And
so, during the whole Pratt process, we engaged QK4 to help with providing the cost estimate in which we put in the overall package to get Pratt here. And KYTC made their decision to give the $500 toward a $1.4 million project. Okay? Judge Brad Schneider, during our negotiations, agreed to put up $1 million for this project. So for a total of $1.5 million. Well, the 1.4 cost estimate plus the $116,000 UK4 design contract brings it up to about $116,000 and change. So press forward in time. Pratt comes to town. QK4 is doing their work. They're also doing work with Pratt. The reason we chose QK4, they could coordinate their efforts on two projects that overlap each other. So we proceed on, we get a set of design documents done. They're reviewed and approved by the state. We go out to bid. We opened the bids last Wednesday. The bid, we had 6 people attend the pre-bid meeting, but we only had one bidder turn in a qualified bid. And with us today is Tim Sigler with JBI. He's the owner, and his subcontractor is Brad Hazelwood with Hazex. Bid came in about $2.3 million, which is about $800,000 over what we had budgeted. And so last Friday, I contacted Mr. Hazelwood. We met out on site. We met with Pratt's representatives to go over. There was a coordination problem between the two projects. Okay, so we had to get QK4 involved. Brad and I met with Pratt's people, and we got everything basically resolved of the conflict between the plants. So fast forward, today is Thursday, right? So Monday, we start negotiations with JBI and Hazex to start looking at what in this bid package is necessary, what's not necessary, but yet maintain the expectations from KYTC. So that started Monday. We went on into Tuesday, continued to talk. Yesterday, we had another meeting with the two gentlemen. Tom Williams was with me, more or less as a witness to the negotiations. We ended up coming to an agreement to finalize what this contract would look like in accordance with what QK4 has reviewed and approved, as well as discussions with KYTC. Now, I will tell you, we're still in discussions with KYTC over one issue. And if you read JBI's proposal that's there in front of you, it's the last item. And what that involves is original bid called for flaggers for the project. It's men standing out there with flags in their hands. Well, that turned out to be a very expensive line item. So when we were negotiating, they said, can we do something different? They made a proposal to use traffic signals, or more or less portable stoplights. And what would happen is the stoplight would close one lane of traffic completely while these guys are working, and then all the traffic would be shifting to the west traveling lane. So that would allow them to work safely. It would allow them every night to go home and not have to provide a lot of extra work to keep both lanes going, if you know what I'm saying. It's a safety issue. So I've been in discussion with KYTC. They're going to give me an answer, but we don't think that they're going to object to it because we've amended how we would handle this traffic signal, and we've got concurrence from QK4 that it complies with the MUTC standards. So it's just a verbal thing, and in discussion with District 2 today, they're going to leave it up to myself and one of their permitting engineers to get that resolved. So with that being said, we at 4:30 today came up with the final number. We went from 2.3 down to 1.967. Again, thanks to the contractors willing to get through this project and get us to where we need to be. Now, we'll say this, we followed our model procurement policy. We were able to negotiate. It's allowed under 45A. Now,
With a single bidder.
with a single bidder. Now, I want Missy to come up and explain what she initiated last night, because, guys, we're still $800,000 short on money, okay? So, Missy, if you don't mind to come to the podium and sort of start the call on what happened, and then, Mayor, I would ask that you input what conversations you had with the governor today.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss.
Kev, point of clarification.
Yes,
When you said 800,000, on the adjusted bid, we're actually about $500,000,
Yes.
a little under short.
but guess what? We have other costs.
Okay.
We have to pay the K4,
1.3.
and we have testing, and then, I'll be honest with you, I put in $50,000
Just for
of contingency,
Gotcha.
because more than likely, there could be a change order.
Okay.
Just want to make sure, but I would rather Missy talk about the funding aspect as part of what she did last night.
Gotcha. Thank you.
But I know y'all are aware that we have bi-monthly meetings with Pratt, just to go over the Gantt chart, to make sure we're, moving forward on the project, on the timeline, to meet their timeline, and any other pain points or things that we might be, experiencing with the project. So we had to address that gorilla in the room about the bid and where the funding was gonna come from. Happened to be our lucky day, and one of the toughest negotiators from the Pratt team happened to be in town. He's not always in town. And so we were kind of at a standstill on where the funding was going to come from. So I left that meeting and went outside to make some phone calls. Called our state senator, Robbie Mills, explained the urgency of this, and he began working through his channels and state government. We also called Brad Schneider, Judge Schneider. He went to work on some local, with the fiscal court, where they could help. Then conversations continued today with the state government, with Secretary Gray's office, the governor's office, and Senate leaders in the transportation cabinet, and with the fiscal court. So we feel confident verbally, and I think the mayor will speak to his conversation that he had, that the state will cover the $500,000 that's from the bid. So we have the 1.5, we will have 2 million. And then the difference for the other pieces, the engineering and the testing, and the contingency, fiscal court will cover for us. So we feel, although that has not been, they have not been able to have a meeting to approve that, we feel confident in those conversations that we've had with those leaders that will be covered.
Good job.
So bottom line, Robert, Commission, we're zero out-of-pocket expense on this one issue.
And on the state part of it, as Missy said, Robbie got involved and talked to Secretary Gray, and Secretary Gray got with the governor's office, and together they were able to come up with some money that didn't think was going to be there. But I'll tell you one thing that's very funny about this. Legislature, led by the Republican group and Bobby's group, during last session, they set a new rule that the Transportation Cabinet would not be able to fund any additional operations in their budget. That new regulation goes into effect July 1st.
Tomorrow.
We got in just barely under the line.
So do you need that motion now? Is that?
Now, Robbie,
Well, we're here tonight.
Robbie told me this morning, he said, you know, now that this has happened and we see what kind of problems that could be, we need to go back and look at that ruling again that we gave the transportation or the executive group, and whether or not, you know, maybe we ought to put a $5 million floor on that or something. So anyway, they're going to be, in the next legislative session, they're going to look at it again. But it's kind of amazing the way the timing on this was. So I'm going to ask now for a motion to, okay, I'm sorry.
Municipal order number 49-22, municipal order approving agreement with JBI Construction Incorporated of Evansville, Indiana, for the construction of Kentucky 425 at Henderson bypass turn lanes to Pratt Paper for the sum of $1,967,800 and authorizing the mayor to execute all necessary documents on behalf of the city.
Is there a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Now we have an opportunity, if you have any questions or comments, to bring those forward.
I have one comment that
Okay.
I would ask our attorney to make a clarification for your understanding, his review of the contract that we will sign with JBI.
What we attempted to do is to put a basic boilerplate agreement together that has not been reviewed by JBI and is subject to some additional language that we may want to add in it. So I've spoken to Mr. Sigler what I intend to do is to try to expand on what's been discussed this evening, to put some of the items in there about how the funding's involved, the conditions, the terms and conditions of the agreement, and Mr. Sigler, to protect his interest, has provided a list of the changes that are being done. So, obviously, we need this order, but we don't have an agreement to sign tonight because it's going to need to be reviewed by JBI to have some additions to it. But we understand the marching orders, we understand the significance of it, and we should be able to have that completed tomorrow, but the order will be in effect.
As approved.
Maybe sign that agreement after.
We're authorizing the mayor. But obviously, there are some changes that were provided to us, to me, 5 minutes ago, and he's gonna want those in that contract. But there's also some language about bonds and requirements that you normally see in contracts that did not make this simplistic agreement we put together to get this through this evening.
Randall, I've got an important follow-up question then. Have we adequately reviewed the ruling that's gonna go into place tomorrow to make sure that what we're going to be doing with these amendments will not affect our ability to
I
get
have
this
not.
extra money?
I didn't know there was a ruling going into effect tomorrow.
Because if that language is a certain way, we may be shooting ourselves in the foot here. We
No.
don't wanna do that.
Here's what's gonna happen, was assured by District Two, that we would get an amendment to a previous MOU that y'all approved and the mayor signed for, be done and dated today.
So then aside from the order, are we also approving this, understanding that we're gonna go back and amend it later? Or are we just approving the order, or what are we
What
doing
you're
today?
approving is the bid award and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract, and also approve him to sign the amended MOU with KYTC that will allow them to give us the additional $500,000 effective June 30th.
Okay, as long as you're confident.
I know we can do this, now it would take a little bit of, so the agreement that was drafted generally covers most of the things that we're concerned about. Sigler has provided a copy of the amendments. I wrote the one additional clause while I was reading this a while ago that needs to go in there, to talk about the conditions in the RFP subject to the addendums. I mean, we can knock this agreement out while we sit here. It's gonna require Mr. Price to read it and agree to it.
I would rather,
I mean, if you wanna leave nothing to chance. Or you could sign an agreement subject to the addendums that need to be done to protect both the city and Mr. Price's interest on these addendums. I think if you had some agreement in place, it would kill every cat in the alley on whether or not it resolves those problems.
Well,
You sure don't wanna lose that funding.
what would need to be done to?
I've already written it out. All we'd have to do is have
We need a motion to accept.
this, well, you just need the agreement signed.
mayor can do that after y'all leave.
Or
Well, it's Mr. Price that you're gonna need his signature on
Yeah.
there.
we can get both of those.
You okay? You be okay if we go make the amendment changes on the contract?
want to read that.
Well, you don't have a
Well, you
rubber
can,
rubber
while we're
stamp?
making this one change.
No, I don't,
No.
I don't have a rubber stamp.
Teresa, do we have a copy? It's just a really, does anyone have a copy of this agreement that's in your package to let him read that? Because the provision I'm putting there is to protect him.
Yes.
So if someone can then take me to a word processor, we'll make this change right now.
Marie can do, or Teresa will do that.
Donna should have it pulled up on her computer.
Thank you. I just
No,
hate not to
you're
give it a
fine.
few more minutes, just to make sure that we are dotted and
fine.
crossed, you know.
That's fine. We'll sign it tonight. I'll sign it tonight and sign it tomorrow when it's. Rodney, you hanging in there okay?
Yep, I'm still here.
Oh,
Okay, do you have any
Yeah.
questions or concerns or anything?
No,
I think we're,
a whole
I
whole lot
think we're,
better scenario than what I
right.
thought it was gonna be.
I think we're moving right through it. I think Randall's and Buzzy and Missy's got us on the right track.
Yep, sounds like it.
I'm gonna have them.
I guess we could stand in recess until
We'll
they come back.
be in recess, yeah. We're in recess.
I did not to ask that question, but it's just, I get so worried, you know, I don't know what the language says, and if it says something specific,
Okay, thank you. We're coming out of the recess, and we have a motion and a second on the resolution. I'm sorry, it's a municipal order. And are there any other final questions or comments?
Work by everyone involved in getting this done on short order, and happy to give a contract this big to some local guys stepping up to the plate to do it.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody involved. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles,
Aye.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Staton,
Aye.
Mayor Austin.
Aye. Being no more business before the commission, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
y'all.
Appreciate your time and
So you need Tim's signature on that contract.